Hey everyone. So this is a webinar on student activity sheet. Last week we went over list building and the Maxwell disc, and we are going to review a little bit of that today, but the recap is posted online. So if you missed that, you can still go back and view it. So welcome everyone. This is how I see you. These are my students, and I spend a lot of time with you, getting to know you over the summer. And there's so many great things about you that I want to showcase in your college applications. So this is how I see you, and hopefully how you see yourself. Hopefully you see your strengths and the things that are great about you. I hope that you see yourself in the way that I see you. Now, admissions officers do not see you this way. Admissions officers are missing a lot of you because they don't spend hours and hours of time like I do with you as a student. They just get, on average, admissions officers will spend 5 to 15 minutes reviewing your application, and that's it. So everything they get about you is just condensed into a really short amount of time. And that's why we have to spend so much time on the front end of your applications. A lot of times students will say to me, well, I thought you were going to help me with the essays. When do we get to work on the essays? Well, we are working on the essays. We're doing all of the prep work that's going to make your essays great. Now, remember, I've been doing this really since 2017, but professionally since 2019. I have seen your competition, and your competition is fierce. And this process is grueling, and there's a lot to it. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to break it into bite-sized pieces for you every week during the summer, so that when school starts and you go into your senior year, you can enjoy homecoming and Halloween, all the things, without this crushing weight of your college applications on you. So we are going to start working on all those little pieces that we need to fill in for the admissions officer so that they can see the students who I see and see how great you are. This is how we do that. So these are the missing pieces. And today, when we talk about the student activity sheet, really what we're prepping for is your activities and honors section in your Common App application, but we're also prepping you for asking for letters of recommendation. Remember, the teachers that you ask for your letters of recommendation should be teachers who know you well. So ideally teachers from your junior year, because they had a whole year with you. If you ask a teacher that you have your senior year that you've never had before, they're only going to have had you in class for a few weeks before they have to write these letters of recommendation. So ideally a teacher from your junior year, and ideally an instructor from a core subject: science, math, English, history. Okay, so if we break these things down, this is what they mean. Your academic record is what's also known as your high school profile. What's going to happen is there's a lot of different high schools in your state. Those of you who are in here, you're from all across the United States. I've got students in Oregon, students in Virginia, and everywhere in between. And they put it into their own proprietary formula so that they can kind of even you all out, and they can evaluate you on a similar level. For your high school profile, your academic record within your high school profile, it goes over what was available to you and what did you choose to take? What were your course choices? What was AP Calc offered and why you did or did not take it? And does that align with your goals and your abilities? If you want to study engineering and AP Calc was offered to you and you didn't take it, why not? So that's something that would have to be explained in an essay, because they're going to look at that academic record and they're automatically going to say, well, they want to be an engineer, but then they had the opportunity to take AP Calc, but they didn't. So it depends on what your goals and abilities are. It depends on what was offered to you at your high school, and it depends on what you took advantage of at your high school. Your letters of recommendation are going to speak to, how did your high school see you? What does your high school think of you as a student? And those are really important. The three things that I remind you that we want your teachers to see in you is humility, teachability, and curiosity. So those are the things that you want to be showing these teachers that you have. If you come across as a really arrogant student in your letters of recommendation from your teachers, then colleges might be afraid that you're not going to really be curious and a student who wants to learn. So Your letters of recommendation are going to be heavily influenced by the student activity sheet and the words we're using in there and the way you approach your teachers and the words you're using as you approach your teachers. And I've offered you all a swipe file to send those emails to those teachers. If you haven't gotten that from me yet, please drop me an email and remind me. I'll get that in your folder. But we really want to show curiosity, teachability, and humility all the way across in this process. Okay, so activities and honors. We're going to put those in the Common App. I'm going to tell you all about that today here in just a minute. So I'm going to skip over this one for now. Your personal statement. Personal statement talks about your skills, your qualities, your values, your interests. It tells you something about yourself that they can't find in your transcripts or in your letters of recommendation or in your high school profile. So the reason we're working on a really good personal statement is because when you write your Common App essay and your supplemental essays, we want to weave as much of that personal statement into those essays at the end as we can. Additional information is achievements or contextual circumstances of note. A lot of students have something that they want admissions officers to know about what their life was like. Some students spend a lot of time caregiving for a family member, or some students have had a situation happen to them that has really changed the trajectory of their life, such as the loss of a parent or things like that. It doesn't have to be catastrophic or tragic. It can be happy. You can talk about going to state in DECA. There's all kinds of things that could be circumstances of note. So when we work on your student activity sheet, you're going to be talking with me one-on-one, and we're going to be really honing in on what are the things that are most important to showcase you in filling in that picture for admissions officers. Demonstrated interest if applicable. Now, this doesn't apply to all colleges, and you can find out from the common data set whether the schools you're most interested in track demonstrated interest. Just as a general rule, the more highly selective the college or university, the less they're going to track demonstrated interest. So if you're looking at a college or university that has an 80% admissions rate, chances are they might be tracking demonstrated interest. So one of the ways you can demonstrate interest is you can have the school listed in your Common App as this is one of the schools I'm going to apply to. Once you submit your application to the school, they're going to probably reply with an offer for you to set up a portal on their website. And so you definitely want to do that. You want to open all the emails that they're sending you. You want to visit the campus and do an official visit so that they know that you were there and they can follow up on that. You want to collect business cards from everyone you meet on those visits. Now, remember, they say this in the career world, but I want you to start thinking about it as a high school student. When you're visiting these colleges and universities, you're not visiting as the student who you are. You're visiting as the student you wish to be. So it's the same thing in the career world. We say, don't dress for the job you have, you dress for the job that you want. So when you show up at the office, you're showing the people you work with, and especially the people who manage you, that you are someone they can count on. It's one of the reasons why I start these webinars on time. I attended a webinar yesterday, and they asked me to be there 10 minutes early to make sure that there were no technology issues. And so I was there 10 minutes early. And then the person running the webinar the first thing she said was, we're going to give people 5 more minutes to trickle in. And I left. I was like, I don't want to be part of a group where people can't show up on time. If they can't get there on time, then why are they even bothering? So remember, when you go on these college tours, go as the student you want to be and present yourself as the student you want to be, which means talk to people, shake their hand, look them in the eye, ask questions that you can't find on their website, ask meaningful questions, follow up those visits with a personal handwritten thank you note. It's okay to send them an email, but follow up with that person and just be humble, be grateful, be thankful, thank them for their time and the information that they took the time to give you. Okay, so that's demonstrated interest and financial aid. This doesn't apply to all schools, but it does apply sometimes, and you'll have to check the common data set, because if you are a student who needs considerable financial aid, that could affect whether or not the college admits you. Now, there are things such as need blind schools where they will consider you whether you need financial assistance or not. And that's a great thing. So we can talk more about that if you have more questions specifically about your situation. That's not a topic for a webinar. And I do have software available to help you with some of these things. Okay, so moving right along here. When you go to the Common App, so you go to apply.commonapp.org, and you're going to create your account. I want you to get your account created. If you haven't already done that, I want that done this week. Okay, so go get your Common App account created. I have 2 transfer students, but most of you are first-year students, so you're just going to pick the right radio button for your situation. And this is what your dashboard looks like. So if you look at the top, across the top, all the way on the left-hand side, it says dashboard. This is what your dashboard looks like. Now, this is my account. It's not your account. So these are maybe not your schools. How do you get your schools in here? One thing I want to point out, this was a question that a student asked, and I'm really happy when you all submit questions to me, because it tells me that if you have the question, chances are a lot of other students have it as well. And her question was more of a concern. Oh, it says that my application is in process. Does that mean that these schools can already see what I'm putting in here? No, it does not. It means that it's in progress. It's not complete. It hasn't been submitted. Okay. So just take note of that, and take note of, if you have questions for me, that's what this office hours Ask Me Anything Google form is for. You can go in, I check it every time before we start these webinars so that I can get your questions into the webinar and get them answered as quickly as possible for you. So on that note, we're really split 33, 33, 33 of students who've answered the question so far. Some of you are feeling prepared for life after high school. Some of you not so much, meh. And some of you are not feeling prepared at all. So that's good. I'm glad you're here. That's what this is for. These are the concerns that you all have: getting letters of recommendation, signing up for the Common App, finding the schools that you're going to apply to, writing your essays, and getting started with the whole process. So hopefully this is exactly what we're talking about today and last week. And so we're going to get you up to speed and get you feeling a little bit more confident about how you're going to do all of this. All right, so once you're inside your dashboard, there's this really neat radio button over to the right on the top that says application requirements. And when you click that, it gives you a lot of information on the schools that you're thinking about applying to. It tells you if they offer early decision, and there's 2 types of early decision. There's early decision 1 and early decision 2. On this page, you can see, okay, well, Catholic University offers ED1 and ED2s. They're really high on my list of schools I want to go to, but maybe I'll do ED1 to UVA, and then if I don't get in there, I'll do ED2 to Catholic, and that will be my application strategy. That's how we find all this information. That's how we come up with your strategy. That's how we leverage your strengths in this process, is we really do a deep dive into what's available, because not all schools offer ED2. You can see down here that a lot of schools don't have that option. Not all schools offer ED1. A lot of the schools on my list don't even offer ED1. So I can't go early decision to Colorado Boulder because they don't offer it. Virginia Tech does not offer early decision at all. And it's going to give you an early action deadline over here. But I can tell you straight up from my experience with students that if you don't get your application in almost as soon as they open the portal, they're not going to believe that you are one of their top choices. And the other thing about Virginia Tech is they care more about their supplemental essays than they care about your Common App essays. So if any of you have Virginia Tech on your list, you need to send me an email and let me know that, so that we know we have to get focused on your Virginia Tech applications. Okay, so that's that. But this is just a really cool page. It also tells you if the school has rolling deadlines. A rolling deadline just means you don't have to wait to apply next fall. They will accept students as the applications come in, just rolling. So that can also be part of your application strategy. Well, one of the schools on my list offers rolling admissions. So if I don't get in early decision, then I'll just do rolling decision later. It also gives you the prices for the fees and some other information. So that's a really interesting page to explore. Okay, so how do you get your colleges into the Common App? Well, the second tab over says My Colleges, and then the radio button, Add a College, and you just start putting in your college. It's that simple. The third tab over is called the Common App tab. This is kind of the whole point of the Common App, is so that you don't have to type all of this information in at 1,000 different portals. You can just put it all into this one portal and send it to the schools that are participating. So your profile is your personal information. There's information on your family that they're going to want to see. There's education and there's testing. This is where you're going to put in your SAT and ACT scores. And then down here under activities, this is why we do the student activity sheet, because we really need to leverage this page. Why? Because you can only add 10 activities, and every activity that you put in here is going to have a character count. Big picture, we just need to get your activities into your student activity sheet so that we know where you're involved in. Some of you are going to have more than 10. And so then we need to talk about, well, can we combine any of these? Can any of these, such as National Honor Society, go under honors so that we're not taking up an activity with that one? And how do we maximize the 150 characters so that it really jumps off the page? That's all I'm going to say about Common App for right now, because the Common App is getting ready to refresh. I don't know what the redesign is going to look like. I don't know if anybody knows. I haven't seen it yet. If they put it out there, I haven't seen it yet. So I don't want to give you too much instruction on how to use the Common App. And then on August 1, it's just completely different. They've changed everything. So we're going to stop with the Common App in detail there, but you can at least get that far. And when it refreshes, it should save your information. On my website, on collegeapphelpdesk.com, under notes, that's where I post this stuff. It's been a couple of weeks since I posted that the Common App was refreshing, but I post a lot of stuff on here. It's not necessarily my content, but when I'm out in the world or if I'm online and I see something that I think might interest you or might apply to your situation, I'll put it in here on a note. So be sure to be checking that out, so you're staying abreast of the climate of college applications right now. And then under the VIP section, a couple of you have asked me this: where do I find the replays to these webinars? I might want to watch one again, or I missed one, I couldn't come to one. How do I get the information so I can stay on track? You just go to the VIP menu item, and the workshop dates are pinned to the top, and then everything else is below that. Okay. So moving right along to your student activity sheet. I know you can't read this. It's okay. I'm just giving you a really big picture version here. So this is the first page. This is where all of your activities go from your freshman, sophomore, junior, and what you can reasonably expect to participate in your senior year. I want you to get everything in here, even if right now it's just the names of the activity, but get as much in there as you can. Your name, some description of what it was that you did. Don't worry about word count. Everything in this process, when we get to the essays every time, don't worry about word count. I don't want you to write 10,000 characters when you know that it has to be 150, but it doesn't matter if you write 300 characters, because it's pretty easy to get that honed down. What we really want is we want to start with as much content as we can. Content is king, guys. Content is 60% of what I want you focused on in all of this, in our essays, in your student activity sheet. Make sure your content is solid. So get the name of what you did, what your position, what the official title of the organization was, and as much description of what you did as you were participating. And then we'll go from there with word count. This is the second page, and you should not be starting on this until your first page is finalized and you've worked with me on it and you've gotten feedback from me and I've said to you, okay, here's how we're going to start filling out the second page. The only reason I'm showing you the second page right now is I want you to see all of these headings. And I pulled these headings straight from the Common App. So these are the headings where they will categorize your 10 activities that you're going to be copying and pasting from this sheet into the Common App. I want you to just run your eyes over the activities, because you've still got this whole summer. Go out there and get something that you can put in there. If you don't have 10 activities for your Common App, go find something, go do something. I don't want you to start something completely different, because colleges don't really like that. They don't want to see that you took on 10 new things your junior and senior year. What they really want to see is that you focused on a leadership opportunity in the places where you are already involved. So if you're already involved in something athletic, or you're already involved with robotics, take on a leadership activity. At National Honor Society, be the first one to raise your hand to volunteer for an office or to lead something that's happening. Whatever, just don't go looking for too many more activities, go looking for more leadership activities. This is a little bit more close up of the first page, and this activities section right here, I've tried my best to give you a template. You want the description, the position, whether you are a member or a volunteer or the president or a captain, okay? Then we want the organizational name. And I want to make sure that you look up and you use the official name. So don't just say Key Club with lowercase, it's Key Club International and it's capitalized. I want you to make sure that you're dotting your I's, crossing your T's, you're really detailed and you're showing them that you're professional. And definitely give me as much description as you can about what you accomplished, any special recognition you received, especially if it's quantifiable. Like if your organization earned a certain dollar amount, I want that dollar amount in there. If you raised your membership by X members or a certain percentage, I want all those numbers in there. Anything that's quantifiable is really great to put in here. The timing of participation and the hours spent. This gets really hairy for students if they save this until October of their senior year to put this in. Try to figure all this out now. How many hours did you spend per week on this, and how many weeks per year? And was it during the school year, during break, all year? Get those numbers figured out now. You'll just be doing yourself a really great favor once school starts. Down below this referee position down here, that's just an example. For those of you who don't have 10 activities, I'm giving you one that you can use because I'm basically going to be teaching you Academic Writing 101 this summer, and you're going to be able to use that if you need an extra something in your activities. So just be aware of that. It's okay to share this document with your parents. Your parents can help you with this document. Sometimes parents have things like Instagram photos. They can go back and say, oh, remember when you did this? And they remember things that you have completely forgotten that you worked on. So work with your parents, get this done. And then when you feel like it's finished, tag me in the Google Doc, because there's a lot of students and there's an awful lot of documents. Please don't expect me to go through all of your documents and know when you've made a change. I will not be able to do that. I will never know when you've made a change unless you alert me to that. So what you do is under insert comment, when the comment box comes up, you type an @ in my name and then you assign it to me. That way I get an email, and that email tells me this student is ready for me to go look at what they've got in their student activity sheet. We'll have the same process when we get to the essay portion. You can always just send me an email and say, hey, my student activity sheet is almost finished. I think it's ready for you to look at. You can do it that way as well, but I would rather you tag me in the document because then it's just instant and I know it happens. Okay, so that was student activity sheet. If you have any questions, just type it into the chat and we'll come back and we'll get to that. I want to review a couple of things from list building from last week because I got some questions and I want to be sure that you're all on board with it. Remember, building your college list, we're looking for a good academic, social, and financial fit for your family, which means you've got to have some conversations with your parents about finances, because I don't want you to get heartbroken on May 1st when the school that you work so hard to get into is not within financial reach of your family. Remember, there is no such thing as a safety school. We use likely, target, and unlikely. And a 4% acceptance rate does not equal a 4% chance of admission. Remember, the math is not cumulative here. So just to put this into perspective, I'd like for your list to be somewhere around here: 3 likelies, 5 targets, 1 unlikely. You can have more schools than this on your list, but this is kind of the percentage of how I would like your list to be weighted. And I can show you a little bit more about what I mean there. 75% of Common App schools, so 75% of the schools in the Common App have 50% or greater acceptance. There are so many schools out there that would be a good fit for you, that would be really happy to have you on their campus, which is why I don't want you to focus on the highly selective schools let's think about this. If 0.5% of US high school graduates enroll in highly selective colleges and universities, okay, 0.5%. So let's put that into perspective. 7.5% of high school football players go on to play in college, 7.5%. So think of the high school football players in your school that you know who went on to go play college ball. Chances are there's just a handful of them. There's not always a whole lot. 1.6% of NCAA football players go on to play in the NFL. Okay. Everybody uses that statistic of, the unlikelihood of a college ball player going on to play in the NFL. 1.6% of them do, but only 0.5% of US high school graduates enroll in highly selective colleges and universities. So yeah, MIT has a 3 or 4% acceptance rate, but only 0.5% of US high school graduates will be chosen to fill those slots. So the math is not cumulative, which is why I don't want you putting so many highly selective schools on your list that your list becomes unbalanced. I want you to have a balanced list. As selectivity increases, the objectives become more complex and institution specific. So I said last week, but I want to just impress upon you and give you a little bit more background on this. You have to hone in on why this one. Why is this one highly selective college or university my choice? Why do I have it on my list? And if your answer is, well, I just want a $300,000 sweatshirt because I think that would be cool, I'm going to encourage you to really rethink that. It's really, really a lot of work to apply to these schools. If you're up for doing the work, I am absolutely up for helping you. I help a lot of students do it. I've had students get in. I just want you to know what the numbers are before you get started in that process. Okay, so we talked about that. 75% of Common App schools have a greater than 50% acceptance rate, and 73% of US college students are enrolled in public institutions. Your peers are most likely going to a public institution, a public college, in order to get where they want to be at the end of this high school journey. This is a tracker from a student who I had last year. And I know that you maybe can't read everything on here, so I'm just going to point out a few things because the type is really small. Let's look at this acceptance rate. You can see the difference between yellow, red, and green. Even though the student had more than 10 schools, they kept the balance weighted. There were 3 schools on there that had a very low acceptance rate. There were several schools that were above 70% acceptance rates, and there were lots and lots of targets. Those are the yellow schools, okay? Over here, you can see what the student's plan was. I'm going to go early decision here. If I don't get in, I'm going to go early decision here. And then I'm going to also go early action here because this is my first choice school, but they don't offer early decision. So that's what the student's strategy ended up being. And you can also see over here, once you start plugging these numbers into the spreadsheet that I gave you, the numbers help tell the story. So this student actually got a 34 on his ACT. The concordance tables will show you this is what admissions officers will assume you're going to get on your SAT if you had taken it. So if you got a 34 over here, you don't necessarily need to submit your SAT scores. They're just going to go off of these scores. So of his first choice school, last year's admitted freshman had anywhere from a 31 to a 34 on their ACT. He got a 34. So he was at the top of the line of what that school was looking for. This school is looking for students or admitted students who had anywhere from a 26 to a 32. This particular student you can see up here is a Georgia resident. That's why he had University of Georgia and Georgia Tech on his list, because those were his state schools. His state schools, one of them, University of Georgia, he exceeded what they were looking for in that ACT score. And then over here is the GPAs. So when you look at the numbers, you can really kind of tell. I also have software that's going to make those decisions for you. Is this school a likely, an unlikely, a probable, or is it a reach? My software is going to tell me this, and I'll help you with that as well, so that you're making good decisions and you're keeping your list balanced and you're not overweighted on one end or the other, depending on your particular situation and your scores. All right. These are some books that will help you build your list. I know you're all still kind of working on your list. You've got some more time. I would like for your list to be reasonably finalized by August 1st. So you have all of July to be researching schools. And that's what you should be doing right now. Research, 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 be looking at schools. Well, how do I research schools? Well, you can look at these guides. You can also, I put links are in the post from last week's webinar. So you can click on all of these and get more information about schools. There's a podcast, there's all kinds of things, and all the links are there. You can go online. You should definitely check out all the schools that are in your state of residency, like just click around in all of those. This is something that I put up this week. I don't know if all of you saw it, but you all have access to this under the VIP tab. What can I do with this major? And this can be really helpful for you. So after I go over your DISC assessment with you and we look at the careers that are at the end of it, one of them, let's say one of those careers jumps out at you, but you think, what am I going to do with that? What would that look like for me? This is a great resource. So I want you to check it out. I want you to use your DISC assessment, check out some of those careers on this website. And I also want you to note that this website also links you to professional associations that have to do with that major. And those professional associations often offer students scholarships. So those are places where you can look for and find a scholarship that might help you get to a school if you need some extra money to pay for it. Okay, so that's all I have for today. I'm getting you out in way less than an hour. I'm going to post the recap of this video. You'll have all the links, all the documents. You should all have a Google folder from me with some of these documents in there as well. If you don't, please send me an email. I'll be sure to get it to you. And have a great rest of your weekend. No webinar, no office hours next week, but we'll start up again in July. And it's gonna move fast. Guys, college is happening and it's happening fast. Some of you are gonna have October deadlines. It's June. So do as much work as you can this week and next week, and come back to me in July ready to really roll up your sleeves and knock this out, because I don't want you to have to be doing this while you're trying to start your senior year. Okay, have a great rest of your day. Bye.